structure here where I put the B-L-E. B-I-L is the bile. Is the bile flowing? You can see the arrow showing you that it's coming through. This is gallbladder. This whole structure is gallbladder. So it's going this way like that into the small intestine. This is the duodenum. This part where I put the D. So in this video, we'll be looking at the accessory organs of digestion. So these will be these ones, but I'm going to add one more really. It's going to be the salivary glands, the liver, and the gallbladder, like gallbladder. All right. So these are the four accessory organs of digestion, as it were. So the first one here is the salivary gland. I want you to please pay attention to some few things. Regardless of the exams you're writing, most of those things are vital for all curriculum, so to say. Now, these are glands in the mouth. Apparently, we have different salivary gland. For example, we have the parotid gland. For most of you, you don't need to know the name of the glands, really, like except you are A-level students. So basically, you have the parotid gland. These are different salivary glands. What do? They secrete a fluid called saliva. Now, saliva is very important. Why? Because it makes the food soften when you are eating, like when you're chewing. So when you chew the food, it makes it easier for you to swallow that. Now, much more than that, it contains what we call salivary amylase. Now, amylase is an enzyme that works on starch. It's a type of carbohydrate digestion enzyme. What does it do? It converts cooked starch into maltose. So, in summary, in the mouth, we have salivary gland, and the salivary gland then secretes saliva. What do you have in the saliva? It does two functions. Number one is it makes food easier for us to swallow. Number two, it contains salivary amylase. And the name of that enzyme actually is called thialine. All right. And what does it do? It converts cooked starch into maltose, which is a type of disaccharide. Anyways, this maltose is a sugar, but it's a sugar that has two glucose in it. It has two glucose molecules. All right. Moving on. So this is something showing you the mouth, how the food is being swallowed. This is a parotid salivary gland. It's going to secrete onto the food. This is also secreted. This is also salivary gland. This is also salivary gland. Just telling you how saliva secretes, or how salivary gland secretes saliva as it were. All right. Then the next structure is liver. Now, liver is of course the second largest organ, the overall. What I mean that, let me explain that to you. When it says the largest organ in the human body, inside and outside, is the skin. Then the second one is the liver. But inside the body, like in the body, it is the largest. Like if you've seen what is the largest visceral or internal organ, the answer is the liver. But when you say what is the largest overall organ, is the skin. What's the next one? The liver. That's why it says liver, which is the second largest organ in the human body. Now, what does it do? It helps to produce bile. You don't want to forget that. Bile is super important. Yes, in some animals, in most animals, it's always very bitter. How do I know that? Because when you like some of us that grew up in Africa, you have to probably kill some chickens, and you have to do that. When you mistakenly don't do it very well, you always encounter this around the liver of the chicken. All right, you could check that out in practicals. It's always very bitter. How do I know? Because some of us mistakenly cooked it. Yes, like we cooked it with the liver when we were much younger. But that's a digression. The point is, bile is made by the liver, and it is stored in the gallbladder. Now, what's the function of this bile, as it were? It is to emulsify fat. What does emulsification mean, please? I want you to follow me closely. Say you have a large piece of fat that you have eaten like that. Now, if this fat is like this, the enzyme that digests fat is called lipase, because another name for fat is lipids. So if this lipase were to digest this fat, really, as big as it is, going to just digest the outer layer of the fat, like outer layer like that. Yes. So it's going to leave this bigger part undigested. So, but by nature, what will bile do? Bile will actually go over this and break this into smaller pieces, like smaller pieces. Now, with that, lipase, which is the enzyme that digests fat, can easily, engulf, not really engulf, go over this and digest because it's now smaller. So basically, what bile does is to reduce fat from a bigger size into smaller droplets by a process called emulsification. This is very important. This part I circled, you don't want to forget that part. All right. So you might pause the video here to just take note of one or two things. Okay, of course, bile is made from unused amino acids. So don't forget the few points you don't want to forget on these slides. All right. Moving on. So that is bile. This structure here, where I put the B-L-E, B-I-L is the bile. Is the bile flowing? You can see the arrow showing you that it's coming through. This is gallbladder. This whole structure is gallbladder. So it's going this way like that into the small intestine. This is the duodenum. This part where I put the D is the duodenum. This is the stomach. So after the stomach, the food moves like this here. Then, of course, there's more other things I meant to say here. But what happens is when food comes to this place, the bile is secreted to emulsify fat. One other thing again, please. Fat also helps to neutralize the content coming from the stomach. The content coming from the stomach, this is stomach, is quite acidic. Why is it acidic? Because stomach contains HCl. So what happens is that when it comes to this place, the bile helps to dilute part of the acidity in that content. The content comes from the stomach here. Why will it do that? Because the enzymes that wants to work on the food at that point cannot work on the content that has too much of acid in it. So that's why bile helps to reduce the acidity. All right, basically. Then, of course, there are other things that happen really. Then the last accessory organ is the pancreas. It plays a very vital role. Why? Because it secretes what's called pancreatic lipase. It secretes pancreatic amylase, lipase, and protease. Of course, amylase, like I told you, digests carbohydrates, mainly starch. Then lipase digests lipids. Protease digests what? Protein, so to say. Now, you need to know that we only added this word pancreatic to tell you where it is secreted from. Now, aside this, the pancreas also secretes some alkaline fluid. Yes, which will help to also increase the pH of the content coming from the stomach so that enzymes can work. So it means there are two things that helps to neutralize the acid coming from the stomach. Number one, the fluid from the pancreas. Number two, the bile itself. All right, don't forget that bile also has another function, which is emulsification of fats. All right.